Good afternoon. My name is Keith Stokes-Smith and I'm chairing this afternoon's discussion on recruitment of Commonwealth students post-Brexit. Let me first introduce our distinguished panel. In no particular order, we have Professor Louise Toner, Associate Dean, Academic Portfolio and Market Development, Faculty of Health, Education, Life Sciences at BCU, and Chair of the Birmingham Commonwealth Association's Education Group. Matt Dean, Acting Pro Vice Chancellor International, Recruitment and Pathways at Aston University. Mr. Runsi Chidibe, Commonwealth Scholar, Master of Science, Transforming and Leading in Healthcare, Faculty of Health, Education and Life Sciences at BCU. Dr. Ola Arumu, Course Leader, Master of Public Health, Lecturer and Researcher in Health Economics at BCU. Mrs. Pamela Muria, Director of International at BCU. And finally, Ms. Samya Agarwal, Country Manager India for Aston University. Welcome to you all. Thank you, panel. Yeah. Can I first of all start by relaying some background to our discussion today? Louise will know this, but at a local level in May of 2016, the Birmingham Consular Association published a paper, The Economic Impact of International Students on the City of Birmingham, which indicated that there were 10,782 international students studying in our universities. That was in 2016. Similar to the national figures, students from China were by far the largest contributors at 35%. Commonwealth students represented 23.9%, excluding Cyprus and Malta, in the order of Nigeria, India, Singapore, Malaysia, and Canada. Bringing us more up to date and looking nationally, there were 485,645 international students studying in the UK in 2018-2019. We know that 142,000 of those students came from the EU, and that China, outside the EU, of course, represented a further 120,000 students. That's 25% of the total. India represented 26,685. The latter, coincidentally, giving us a similar percentage to the students who were Indian students in Birmingham in the May 2016 survey. So of the 10,782 in May 2016 in Birmingham, again, similarly 6% were from India. So can I perhaps turn to Samya or maybe Matt as to my first question. How do you think things will move forward in regard to students coming from India now, particularly with the post-study two-year work visa coming into place? Samya, would you like to start on that?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here as a part of the panel in this discussion. We see a very positive change in the way students and parents are thinking in India about coming to the UK and sending their kids to the UK. Primarily for a couple of reasons, I would say. The relaxations that the UK government has given in terms of post-study work visa, like you just mentioned, that definitely has given us a major boost in recruitment. Apart from that, I think a couple of factors that have really given us a lot of positivity are around, one, the salary, bringing down the salary cap of £30,000 to 25,500 pounds, as well as I would say the restriction on the skilled worker cap. Basically the skilled worker cap, the restriction that we had earlier, which is not there anymore. And I think that is something that has really come as a very positive factor for us, because students earlier used to feel that there's a very small number that's, of jobs that students actually have access to. Apart from that, the Commonwealth Games, they're generating so much employment. So I remember when we hosted the Commonwealth Games in India, there were over 2.5 million jobs that were created. And these were not just for Indian students or people from India. These were for everybody, even international students coming into India. So from that perspective, we are seeing a lot of positivity around Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham and students coming to Birmingham and our university per se, I would say.
Thank you, Samia. Neil, sorry, Matt, would you like to comment any further on that?
As you mentioned, Keith, we've traditionally had lots of students from China, but over the last few years have also been investing in recruiting more students from India and seen a really significant growth in the interest from India of students, particularly to come and study in Birmingham. And I think on the back of the government's post-study work visa announcement, that growth has really sort of skyrocketed for many universities. And I think the students that are now potentially switching country and thinking about coming to the UK are driven by not only the post-study work visa, but the opportunity to do an internship or to gain some work experience whilst studying, and then go on to the post-study work visa after they finish studying. So for us, it's about welcoming a big group of new students to the city, and I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for Birmingham actually to embrace having a big group of students in the city that are really driven by the employability agenda, by finding work experience, by perhaps setting up their own company. And that can only be a good thing for Birmingham, in my mind, to have such a driven group of individuals in the city to help develop, particularly post-COVID and in the post-COVID economy, to help drive forward the economy in the city and the region.
You sort of partly answered my next question there, Matt, is how can they actually benefit the area? And indeed, how can we retain them post their studies? I mean, is it obviously creation of jobs and the right jobs for the skills they have, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, with the games coming up, of course, that should be a great creator of jobs. So the other issue, I suppose, is that, yes, with that 2-year work visa now coming on board, it's actually finding those job opportunities or some sort of way they can work for companies and prove themselves and retaining them. And we certainly need to retain local talent in Greater Birmingham rather than going to other parts of the UK or indeed leaving us. Louise, would you like to comment on that, and particularly maybe India at this stage?
Yeah, I think Matt referred to it in his previous discussion, in that there are opportunities that students can take to have an internship, or one of the things we do at our university is we give them the opportunity to have a 6-month placement as part of their overall master's programme.
Okay.
And they find a placement for themselves, and that can then lead on to job opportunities, which means that when they have the opportunity then to actually work for an organisation that they spent that 6 months placement with, and stay doing the post-study visa because they can stay, and then that can then lead to them getting offers of permanent jobs and staying in the country thereafter. I mean, I don't know if Pam would like to make comment in terms of the increase in the numbers of students coming from India, because it's a very similar picture to the picture that Dean mentioned. Sorry, Pam.
Thank you. At BCU, we've seen quite a significant increase in our applications, and actually not just this year, for the last few years, the actual enrolments from India. I believe, and I think this is part of the view of the university, it's because of our location. And Birmingham is so multicultural. We're so fortunate to have such a city with the amazing opportunities, not just on each of our campuses, but outside. Because we're so centrally located, although it is a big city, the actual city centre is quite small. So students have the opportunities of on-campus facilities, but also within the city. We've got booming industry. I mean, the investment that's been going on in Birmingham for the last number of years, we can all see it. There are cranes all over the place. And that will increase as we go along. Now, as Samaya said, we've got the Commonwealth Games coming in. all these things offer opportunities. But going back a little bit, the growth has always come in from India and some of the other Commonwealth countries to Birmingham because of the makeup of the city. And it is about the opportunities that Matt's referred to, the employability. But I think each of our universities has its own unique strengths. So Louise talked briefly about the placement opportunities. So all our courses have an opportunity for a placement or a project which gives the students that added benefit. In addition to that, it's those softer skills. It's around CV development, it's the career development, because we may assume they may want to stay here, but they may want to use this as a stepping stone into other countries further ahead. So helping our students to develop their own personal skills aside of the educational aspect, so it's that added value that we all want to provide. So it's the graduate plus opportunities, it's the volunteering opportunities, which all encompassing provides a more fuller student experience.
Indeed.
We this year are expecting a large influx of students from a couple of these Commonwealth countries which were cited. Like our colleagues at Aston, we have seen a significant increase, but as a university we have been developing our profile within the country. So we have a project which is around STEAM House, and that's the STEMs and art all collectively, and indirectly that is building our profile in the countries. But I think ultimately people are attracted to Birmingham as a city because of what it offers. It's the type of people. I remember quite a while ago somebody made a comment to me, and it was a stakeholder who said the difference with Birmingham is if you were to fall in the street, somebody will stop and help you, which is very uncommon that you would see in other big cities. Now I can see Ruchi nodding his head away, because I think it's that, and people know that about Birmingham. They know that people do genuinely care. It's small enough for people to care, but it's big enough to be named as one of the largest cities.
I totally agree with you. I think, though, from my little bit of research, that sadly, I don't think Birmingham per se captures its fair share of international students. I think I looked at the top 10 universities in the country which were attracting international students, and there wasn't one in Birmingham. And I just wonder what we need to do more in Birmingham over and above what you said, all the benefits to capture more international students.
My personal view is I think it's looking at the countries that we're recruiting for, but also the skill gap within those countries. So we see a lot of our students who are coming to Birmingham City University for those vocational professional type of courses. Now, equally, there are a lot of those large recruiting universities have got a history of recruitment. So for BCU, we've probably been in the international market actively for around, I'd say 15 to 20 years. So we don't have a long history. And we don't have that many universities. So there's only 3 key big players in Birmingham. Whereas if you were to compare us to London, for example, and you've got a lot of traditional universities in London who are recruiting around research more so. And so they do attract a different profile of student. And I think our profile is quite different, but I do think we're in the right direction. You do see growth, which is happening in all the 3 key universities in the city. It's just a matter of time. And I think this year we'll all see significant growth, partly because of the immigration policies, but this is one of those things that just takes a little bit of time sometimes.
Thank you for that. Ransi, of course, I think your home country is Nigeria.
Yes.
Yes, so obviously Nigeria actually in our survey in 2016 topped the list above India. How do you see things going with Nigeria with this new 2-year work visa situation?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. You know, apart from the work visa, of course, the work visa, it's a very good strategy. It's really has encouraged many students. I myself, since I got to BCU, and I think as from December when the whole Brexit started, and I mean, I've got many calls from my friends, sent me message from different social media asking if this is really true or is not, you know. They were really excited because it's a good opportunity not just to come and study and go quickly, but come, study, network a little bit, learn more, practicalize what you learned a little bit. If you want to go back, you can go back. If you want to remain, you can remain. Also, because in many cases, when students actually come to study in the UK, the curriculums are usually very hectic. And because they don't really have a lot of money to come probably like 1 month ahead or spend more time before their course starts. So immediately they arrive in the UK, they just have a few days and get into their courses. So having that opportunity where people can really kind of stay back after their study, it's really wonderful. But I also think, apart from that, speaking in specificity about Birmingham, even me as a person, what really inspired me about Birmingham was trying to, understand the kind of people who live here and how really diverse is, and the diverse communities. So it means like if you're in Birmingham, studying in Birmingham, you are also more like you're studying home, because it's easy to get access to food. Because even though you are in the UK, yes, but it's so difficult to really forget about what home means to you, And for many people, food means home. For many people, the kind of people they see and cultures and all the rest of them. Yeah, so for many Nigerians, I think the issue around being closer to home, having access to food, having access to other friends and all the rest are very, very strong factors apart from the work visa.
So you don't like fish and chips? and as I understand it, there's about 800 or 900 Commonwealth scholarships awarded each year. Do you think there's potential to get that number up at all?
Oh yeah. You see, the truth is that the Commonwealth scholarship, including the shared scholarship, the PhD programs and otherwise, are really a fantastic opportunity, not just to the UK, but to also the Commonwealth countries, because Commonwealth scholarship is really showing the commitment of changing Commonwealth countries. It's truly showing that the Commonwealth Charter is not just a charter as a paper, but is a charter that is committed to changing the lives of people who live in those countries. People like for me and many other people who could not even afford to come to for this kind of scholar, but we discuss, they have the opportunity. And don't forget, Commonwealth scholarship brings the best of the best brains from those countries. It's so tough to get into Commonwealth scholarship. So if you get into it, it's like you are the Queen's daughter and the Queen's son. So I really hope Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and also BCU and other universities are able to get more funding to bring in more students, because it provides a good opportunity to the community and provides a great opportunity and a greater opportunity to the institutions, because they are bringing the best brain who will contribute to research.
Thank you, Renzi. I can see a strange image on my screen of Ola with a very strange blue background. Ola, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Would you like to comment on anything you've heard so far or contribute to that?
Yes, so thank you for having me. Well, if we have to look at the issue of international students in the UK, as someone that has had a opportunity of going out of the UK to recruit students from Commonwealth countries such as Nigeria and Ghana, there are quite a lot of pull factors for most of these applicants, because they have a choice between Canada or Australia and the UK by the side. The reason why the choice will always be for them between 2010 and 2017, why the choice has always been either Canada or Australia, is simply because of the post-study visa. So the only reason why they would ever thought of UK then, during those period of time when we have a very tighter student visa regime, is simply because of the post-study visa and nearness to home. Someone from Nigeria, within 6 hours, you can arrive in Lagos. Within 7 hours, you can find yourself in Birmingham from Accra. So, but when the news of post-study visa came out, most of the applicants, they were very happy simply because they know quite well that on top of the world-class education that they're going to receive in the UK, they still have that benefit of working for 2 years after their study. And there's one thing that is common to all the students from most of all Commonwealth countries. That is the UK experience that have now been valued by employers in all those Commonwealth countries. Take, for example, as someone that has worked with universities in the Southeast and in London, most of my students, they've all gone back from Nigeria to Tanzania to Accra, because that is only the place where they can get a job that will value the experience that they've had in the UK, both the experience they've had by doing internship and the academic qualification that they've got. So it's a very good opportunity that the government has opened up the post-study work visa, because that is going to help the students a lot. And looking at the region as well, it's still going to help the region as well, because it means that the region has a pool of talents to pick from, either for internship or short-term employment or a long-term employment. So which is something that is very good. If you ask maybe a student from India, oh, if I can just get maybe a placement for 2 or 3 months, I know that when I get back to India, the salary that I'm going to be getting is going to be more. If I have to put it in my CV that, oh, I've had maybe 2 or 3 months work experience in the UK. So which means the post-study visa is an added value. And we're going to see changes, the changes that we've not witnessed between 2010 and 2017. I'm sure from 2021 to 2022, we are going to be witnessing those changes. For example, in my own course, it's an explosion this time around. We've never had such a huge number of applicants before. Even when we used to have Commonwealth scholarship, the nature of applicants that we have this time around and the quantity of applicants that we have this time around from India, Nigeria, and several other Commonwealth countries, very massive. So which is a good thing. And I think it's going to continue even post Commonwealth Games if we are still able to maintain that visa regime. And that will now give Birmingham an edge over some other cities in the UK. And at the same time, we give UK as a country an edge over Australia and Canada. That's
Good.
all from me.
Thank you, Hurley. That's very, very interesting. Obviously, with COVID, there's been a lot more a distance communicating with each other. It crosses my mind, is there therefore going to be growing potential for more distance learning rather than people actually coming to study here? Can I put that to you, Matt, first?
I think the answer is yes. I think we will see a significant increase in students that are interested in online and distance learning. And potentially it opens up whole new markets for universities in terms of students that would never possibly be able to come to the UK but would consider doing an online degree. It also gives those students who are currently at home and thinking about coming the opportunity to essentially try out a subject or a university before they actually make the leap to come and study in the UK. We, like all other universities, moved online very quickly in response to COVID and have been planning significantly for September so that we can provide the best possible experience for students that do come over or that decide to stay in their home country and start studying online. But I think longer term, this will see fundamental shifts in how international education works, how we as international recruitment staff engage with the countries that we work in. We work in very different ways now, and I think a lot of that may continue. It may not just jump back to how it was before. And actually, it will drive innovation, and I think it's forcing universities to think very differently about how they do educate, and that's a good thing. We need that push to be able to come up with new ideas, to teach in different ways, to redesign programs so that they really do put, the students' interests at the forefront and bring forward some of the ideas that Pam was talking about those soft skills, what do students need, not now, but in 5-10 years' time, and what will post-COVID world look like for the UK, what will a post-Brexit world look like? And I think that's what we are forcing ourselves to look at now in response to COVID. For students, I think it provides an interesting opportunity to engage with the university much earlier. So we have done significantly more in terms of engagement with individual students over the last 6 months before they arrive with us in September. And it's all been enabled through things like this, through Zoom, through technology, through webinars. Those opportunities we will continue to do even if we return to traveling around the world to meet people face to face. So there will undoubtedly be changes, but equally opportunities. And I think that links through, in some ways, Keith, what you were talking about, Birmingham being sort of hidden in many ways in international education. And this opportunity with the Commonwealth Games, with COVID, with post-Brexit, I think all of these issues and ideas come together to make me think that actually this could be Birmingham's moment. You know, post-COVID world, job opportunities will be harder to come by. So coming to a big city like Birmingham, where there are lots of employability options for students, where you have universities that are really committed to providing really good employability, internship, job opportunities for students, will be a really important thing in post-COVID world. With the Commonwealth Games coming up, we will have undoubtedly more job opportunities, part-time job opportunities for students, but equally it means that the status of the city should raise as well. And it should become, the profile should mean that more students know about actually the fantastic opportunities that are available to them in Birmingham. And then post-Brexit, I think if we're talking about Commonwealth countries, it really will be even more important that we are reaching out to traditional partners in different parts of the world. And hopefully that does mean that there'll be an increase in Commonwealth scholarships, but equally just more scholarships generally available to students coming from Commonwealth countries, so that we can benefit in the city from their expertise, and they can benefit from being in one of the youngest cities in Europe. Maybe they will take up the opportunity to stay here longer with a post-study work visa and really embed themselves within the city, the region and the community.
Thank you, Matt. Louise?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of, there's been some mention of COVID a few times.
Yes.
And one of the things that COVID has highlighted even more than had previously been highlighted is the great shortage that we have in the NHS of nurses, doctors, pharmacists, radiographers, you name it, there's a real shortage. And nurses and other healthcare professionals coming from Commonwealth countries, sometimes the cultural side of things, the language is much easier. So it's easier for people to get jobs in this country. And there are many schemes available and fellowships available that will enable these health professionals to come across to the UK. And part of some of the schemes actually allow people to come across, get registered with their professional body within the United Kingdom, stay for a few years. Often they will actually support them to do higher level study, and then they can go back to their own country, or they can stay in the UK. Because there's always a little bit of a dilemma that you don't want to take professionals away from their own country, unless there's an oversupply.
Yes.
It's also about, if you bring them across and they get the experience of working in the likes of the NHS, which is, you know, world leading, and then they can take that learning back to their own country. And then just to add something in terms of what Matt was saying about distance learning and an increase in distance learning. A lot of countries are changing their views on online learning. In the past, some countries wouldn't recognise online learning, but there's complete changes now, and everybody can see the benefit. And I think COVID has been very responsible for that. And also in terms of from the university's perspective, the accessibility of our provision. If I give you an example, we're just about to launch a master's programme in India related to diabetes care, and there'll be over 100 doctors doing that programme. we would never ever have got that program if we couldn't do it partly online and partly face to face. So the benefits that's given are just tremendous. And given the problems that there are in some Commonwealth countries in relation to some of the disease processes, it gives us lots of opportunities to actually share with colleagues overseas.
Fantastic. That's very good news. How are universities actually engaging with the Commonwealth Games organisers to actually exploit the opportunity of the Games? Is there anything specific you're engaging with them on so that universities get a higher profile and we get some outcomes vis-a-vis more students, or are you just keeping an eye on the Games sort of things?
I mean, I could start off and others could come
yes,
in. Certainly, we're actively involved as part of the Games. We have a large sports department, so our sports development team and the people that are responsible for teaching on our sports programs are very, very involved. We're also doing some work in relation to supporting some of the Commonwealth teams that come across. You know, the University of Birmingham have for a long time supported the Jamaican athletics team. I think, and Pam will keep me right here, I think we're supporting, is it the cricket team? Yeah? And maybe others?
I think it's between either the cricket or the hockey.
All right, okay.
This is Jamaica again.
No, this is India. So supporting
India.
Indian. So the University of Birmingham do Jamaica. We're going to be doing cricket or hockey. I can't speak for Aston, but I'm sure if there's anything, Dean will know. I think it's when you've got sports programs, then it lends itself to doing things. And of course, the university is part of the development at the Alexander Stadium in terms of, in the future, our sports provision will be delivered there. And that's what will happen after the actual games are over. But,
Indeed.
I mean, others may want to say something more.
If I could just add to that, to Louise's, and we talk about where we've got a supports provision, but also that will offer opportunities to across the rest of the subject disciplines. So there'll be the business aspects which will offer opportunities within it. So it's more than just what the Games will hold at that time. It will be wider and offering opportunities across different disciplines. The only other thing I wanted to add was when we talked about online and we talk about the students having opportunities, but also it's the investment that through online can be shared with the teachers. Often we forget about the teachers and the upskilling of teachers in our Commonwealth countries. So we talk about the students having the opportunities, but if we can then also upskill the teachers, and online is an excellent way of doing that, because often they can't leave their jobs to come over and spend a year or however many years like our students do, but it provides a prime opportunity. It goes back to what Matt was saying about the change of delivery modes and how online may become more at the forefront. What we're finding is that a more blended approach is being more welcomed by students as such. So they would like online, but also, I mean, if we remember why our students come to the UK or Birmingham, it's because of that experience. And it's very difficult to capture that when it's online. So perhaps it's going to be a bit more of an online with some blending. But also what it will allow us is to service different groups. So we can service our students, we can service the teachers and other areas as well, and into CPD. And Louise, you talked about nurses, etc. And it's how we can then upskill through those mechanisms.
Actually, I'm just looking through again the main student populations, and I said earlier that Nigeria was at the top, followed by India, Singapore, Malaysia and Canada in 2016 in Birmingham. And actually that very much mirrors our trading relationships, because if you look at our exporting and import of goods, certainly 4 of those countries are in the top 10 countries we trade with. So there does seem to be some closer relationship, not just with students, but a trading relationship as well. But of course there are 53 Commonwealth countries, and I think I've mentioned 5 there. Are we doing more to actually engage with those who never seem to appear at the top of the list, or are we continuing to go with the what a colleague of Louise and mine calls the low-hanging fruits, to get students in from other countries who historically, perhaps, I mean, South Africa doesn't appear on that list, and yet they're in our top 10 trading nations.
I think that's the great advantage of the Commonwealth Scholarship Scheme, is that it doesn't look at the low-hanging fruit. So from memory, the students who we've been successful in recruiting through the Commonwealth schemes has allowed us to have a more diversified mix. And I think that's the benefit of it, whereas you're completely right, Keith. It is often about low-hanging fruit, but it gives the opportunities. But what it also does is it provides exposure for those countries. So countries where you may not have thought, oh, there is a group of, a cohort of students who are interested and are able to come. So I think that's the great opportunity about having the Commonwealth Scholarship Scheme and to continue to grow it.
Matt, would you want to comment on that as well?
I think from the student perspective, if you are from a smaller Commonwealth country, it doesn't mean opportunities are sort of closed down. It's just about finding, if you need a scholarship, the right type of scholarship to suit you. Obviously, the Commonwealth Scholarship Scheme is very competitive, but there are lots of scholarship schemes that universities themselves offer. All of the universities in Birmingham will have their own scholarship schemes. And we don't discriminate on, you know, which country you come from, whether you're from Nigeria or you're from Botswana or another country in Africa or further afield. It doesn't really matter to us. We're just looking to provide opportunities for the very best students to come and study and experience being in Birmingham. So I think there are plenty of opportunities for all Commonwealth students. And I think we certainly at Aston, but I'm sure the other universities are seeing a greater diversity in where students are coming from. And hopefully some of the changes like post-study work visa does open up more opportunities for students in the city as well. So I think we will see a much greater and diverse group of students coming into the city in the future, which is really positive.
Good. Ola, can I put a question to you? Oh, sorry, Samuel. Yes, come in by all means.
So, I was just saying, adding to what Pam and Matt just said, I think largely employability and trade are quite interconnected in a way. And I think the great initiative or the Great Britain campaign that we have, and the way it is being promoted in the Commonwealth nations, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of building trade networks, in terms of education as well, I would say, is something that is of a lot of advantage. And speaking of bringing in professionals, from a recruitment point of view, what we have been seeing is that a lot of professionals are coming into the UK to start their own businesses. And the support that the government is giving through the Great Britain campaign is absolutely invaluable. Speaking of distance learning as well, and I personally feel that all this is completely interconnected, because even through distance learning programs, there is a lot of network being built and business networks that are being built. I think when it comes to distance learning programs, it's usually the professionals who are going for these programs, because these are the people who don't want to leave their jobs since they're doing really well at that. And time, because they want that bump in their careers after a point in time. Even blended learning, I feel students are definitely becoming more flexible when it comes to blended learning than they were in the pre-COVID era, I would say. Students are becoming really open to it. And I think from the government side, the intra-company transfer sponsorships that have been relaxed definitely helps a lot again, because now students can actually come to the UK or do a distance learning program and retain the jobs at the same time. Earlier, when students were coming to the UK, they weren't very sure of whether or not their company's office in the UK would hire them or not hire them. And I think this is definitely an advantage that has come along with all the relaxations that we've had and with all the startup support that students are now getting in the UK.
Good. Actually, I was going to put this question to Ola, but I'll put it to Runcie first. Do you think, Runcie, that Birmingham City Council or the other institutions or businesses in Birmingham should do more to welcome students when they come to the city? Your voice is switched off, your microphone.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think there is a lot more that can be done, you know, especially for students who are kind of matured, who had some experiences and would want to like expand their experiences. Sometimes it could be difficult to get into the high level professional job in Birmingham. So that's something the Birmingham, you know, businesses could do. And I also think the city council could also kind of have a program. It could be maybe supported by the Birmingham Council Association, kind of to support students who just want to have some kind of experiential learning or volunteer programs, or, you know, something around the council to learn about the government of the city. That would also be very, very interesting for a lot of students. One variable that I think that is missing in this conversation, that many students has actually brought to me personally, has been the Black Lives Matters. Many students, my friends who wanted to go to the US this September, are changing their mind because of the death of George Floyd, right, and consistent protest in the US. And they are all considering coming to the UK. This is some students.
Birmingham.
At Birmingham. Some of them are actually coming to BCU. And interestingly, I would really say my university, BCU, has really done very well, because BCU already have the Black Lives Matters commitment plan, which is out there and making many students to see that BCU is committed to, you know, protecting Black students and other BAME students. So this is one variable that I also think that is propelling more people to kind of consider Birmingham, to also consider BCU, and probably consider UK as well.
Interesting. You've got my email address, so drop me your thoughts about how the City Council could be more welcoming.
Okay. Can I just add something there, Keith?
Sure.
In that, as universities, we all go out recruiting. We all go out doing various things, either teaching or linking in with government organisations, industry in different countries, including Commonwealth countries. The City Council does exactly the same thing. But what we're not very good at is joining all of this up and making sure that when trade missions, or whatever you might like to call them, actually goes somewhere, that we do it collaboratively. So if you go to a country and you have the City Council, you have industry, you have education there, you can often provide a complete solution for that particular country, because you've got all the bits that are needed to actually work with that country. And I think it could only be a great strength. So I think that's something either through the Birmingham Commonwealth Association Education Group, because all universities and FE colleges for that matter are part of that, but also maybe something for the Commonwealth Chamber to consider.
Indeed. A little bit like the Commonwealth Association did, of course, in the early days when you went to Jamaica.
Yeah, and that was fascinating. You know, I went to meet city councillors, and people from industry came with me to meet universities. We all went to hospitals, so it was quite an interesting experience.
Indeed. We've got 3 minutes left. Ola, do you want to say anything else in the last 3 minutes to summarize your thoughts?
Well, I think, as others have said, I think we're in the right direction. It's only that we all need to more or less harmonize all our actions based maybe from the universities, and then from the county council, and maybe other industries all around Birmingham as well, so that we can actually harness and make use of the skills and opportunities that are being provided to us as a result of Birmingham having access to a pool of students from all, not only the Commonwealth countries, but all over the world, so that we can make use of their skills and give them the opportunities that will not only be useful for us, but will be useful for them as well. That if they choose to stay, they can use that opportunity to help us develop Birmingham the more. And if they choose to return to their own countries, it will be useful for them as well, thereby increasing trade opportunities and several other things, because that's what we actually need if we want to improve on our trades with all these countries, and we want to more or less cross-fertilization of knowledge and skills as well. And as Louise said, oh, we don't want to be seen as, oh, taking healthcare workers away from Nigeria or from from Nepal or from India, But at the same time, we wanted something that was going to be synergistic in a way. And that's one of the ways that we could do it. Of course, it's good to see that some universities within Birmingham are coming together on a particular project that will be beneficial not only to the region, but to the universities and the students as well. So which is something that is very good and is fantastic.
Yes, and in fact, having such a good diaspora in Birmingham is very good for trade, because it means you've got people on the ground who know the cultures of the countries, the histories, the way of doing things, and that's been very good. And of course, with trade comes improvement in countries' economies, the creation of wealth, the creation of jobs, and reduction of poverty. So it's a good circle. Any colleagues, any last comments from any of you at all? I say we've got 1 minute left.
I was just going to say one thing about post-Brexit. Of course, come the 1st of January, EU students will actually be international students.
Oh, true. Yes, indeed. Yes, that's interesting. So we'll see how the stats change after that. Well, thank you.
I was just going to say, I think universities may look quite differently on EU students in terms of they'll have to be seen to be international students, but in terms of maybe scholarships or something that may be available to them.
Yes.
So that's
well, of course, the Commonwealth has been talked up quite a lot around about 2016, shortly before the Brexit vote and afterwards by quite a lot of government, senior government people. So hopefully there'll be more government support as well for Commonwealth student recruitment. Colleagues, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed that. This is all being recorded, so those who didn't get a chance to listen in can listen in the public channel. We can listen again in due course. So thank you for your participation and for giving up some of your Sunday bank holiday. And again, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.